I think most of us can agree that Minecraft has always had a certain special charm to it. Even stuff as simple as building a house or mining for resources provides a feeling to the player that simply no other game has been able to match. This feeling is the reason Minecraft is still alive after 15 years. I mean, I can't think of another game where people have more memories of them playing as a kid and having a blast. Don't believe me? Go to the comment section of one of these videos. That will change your mind. People love this game, and as much as it can feel like Minecraft is completely invincible and will never die, that simply isn't true. Ever since Minecraft's first full release in November of 2011, Mojang has had 21 major updates, and while for the most part they've done, honestly, an excellent job at expanding the game, they're not perfect. For instance, 1.9. The most important change this update added was the new combat mechanics, and they were terrible. Minecraft's combat was perfect beforehand. It was simple, it was easy, and it was fun. This new attack cooldown they added, however, is none of that. It was so unnecessary, it was a blatant nerf to a game that's supposed to be chill and easy. And I'm sorry, it's just stupid. I hated this update when it came out, and although the new combat has kinda grown on people now, it doesn't change the fact that it damn near killed the game, and I still much prefer the combat on Bedrock. So yeah, Mojang isn't perfect, and while 1.9 is by far the worst addition they've added to Minecraft, it's not the only bad change they've made. In this video, I want to talk about two updates in particular that, despite receiving a ton of praise by players for being super cool and well needed, I think were an overall downgrade to the game as a whole. Caves and Cliffs Parts 1 and 2. If you guys enjoyed this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments. Caves and Cliffs is easily one of the most popular changes to have ever been added to this game, so I'm curious to see how many people actually side with what I have to say. But without further ado, man, let's just get started. As mentioned before, Caves and Cliffs was split into two parts. 1.17 added all the new features and items, and 1.18 added the new world generation. Now, because I'm effectively reviewing two entire content updates to this game, I want to try and keep this video as organized as possible. So, the plan is to split this video into three sections: cave changes, mountain and surface generation changes, and random miscellaneous stuff. In the cave and mountain sections, I'll first talk about the 1.18 world generation, and then I'll bring up a bunch of the 1.17 features that I think are interesting. For the miscellaneous section, I'm just going to talk about a couple things that didn't quite fit into the cave or mountain sections. Alright, with that being said, the first thing I'll be talking about is the new cave changes. Across both 1.17 and 1.18, caves received a complete overhaul. Their actual shape and size is significantly different, there's a few different cave-specific biomes, they're 64 blocks deeper, and there are a ton of new resources, blocks, and random items that can be found in them. To keep things simple, however, I'll start by discussing purely the new 1.18 cave generation. The new cave generation is way too much in my opinion. Now, I'm aware that there are a ton of people who absolutely love the new caves, and I see the appeal. I mean, some of these new caves are stunning, no doubt about it, especially the ones that generate like a mountain and go super deep underground. It's awesome, man. But I can't be the only one who thinks that this shit just gets old after a while. Like, yeah, the occasional big cave is cool, but when they're literally scattered everywhere across the world, it's just not that special anymore. Adding on to this, these caves just don't fit Minecraft very well. Similarly to 1.9, when you change an essential part of Minecraft like caves, you risk the game losing a bit of its charm. Now, the difference here is that people actually like the caves, but for people like me who don't, the game just becomes a little worse. But Minecraft needs to evolve. If Mojang never took risks with updates, every update would look like the Frostburn update. Sure, the caves are different, but are they worse? Yes, they are. Now, maybe this is just some nostalgia talking here, but old Minecraft caves used to be so much more interesting to explore. Because large features in the terrain like ravines were a lot less common, good caves were also less common, which made actually finding them feel way more fun and rewarding. Meanwhile, with the new caves, any goddamn hole in the ground will lead to some giant-ass stone coliseum where every resource you need is right in front of you. Also, because the new caves are so open, actually exploring them is super boring. In older caves, there's a certain surprise factor in running around corners and seeing the cave expand, or even seeing diamonds. Now, that's completely gone, because you can literally just see everything the moment you step foot into a cave. And one more thing, because there is so much more surface area to caves now, ores, and more importantly diamonds, are way more common to find. But Mojang did have this in mind, so alongside the new cave generation, diamonds that are exposed to air spawn significantly smaller veins than diamonds that are concealed by blocks. Initially, this doesn't seem too bad. Diamonds of all resources need to be rare in order to retain that special feel they have. But the way Mojang implemented this feature sucks ass. Every time you find diamonds in a cave now, you know it's gonna be a shitty ass 2 vein, which completely kills the excitement of finding them. Part of the fun in finding diamonds before was not knowing how many you would get. When you know it's gonna be a shitty 2 vein, it's not fun. Mojang should have just lowered diamond spawn rate, and I understand the reason they made this change was so that strip mining would still be viable, but I don't care. This change sucks. Overall, man, the new cave generation, while it doesn't completely ruin the game or anything, the old caves were simply better in every way. The next thing I want to talk about is all the new cave features added in 1.17. Now, unlike 1.18, which I see as just a complete downgrade to this game, 1.17 is kinda just a bunch of filler. It's got some cool features here and there, but everything else is just so boring and unnecessary. Now, obviously, I got no problem with useless features being in this game, but when you create an entire revamp to caves, only to fill in the gaps with a bunch of lame-ass items, it only makes the revamp feel even less necessary. So, that's what I want to discuss here. What features are good, which ones suck, and what would I do to change the shitty features? I'll start with one of the worst features this update added, Deepslate. As we all know, Deepslate is the block that replaces stone below y equals 0. Now, the actual concept of Deepslate is pretty cool. If caves are going to be 64 blocks deeper, I think having them swap to a different block at y equals 0 helps keep the experience fresh. Deepslate is just not that block. For one, the Deepslate caves are so ugly. They blend horribly with the other cave blocks. I hate the grid-like texture of Deepslate being spammed everywhere. And honestly, man, they just look like shit. But that's entirely personal preference. I think the worst part about Deepslate is how long it takes to mine. When you're just exploring a cave, this isn't that big of a deal. Ores are slightly more annoying to mine, so be it. But where this really sucks is when you're strip mining. Now, absolute best case scenario, with an efficiency 5 netherite pickaxe, Deepslate takes 15% longer to mine. This doesn't seem like much, you know, time is money, so I would argue it's still really stupid, but it's not that big of a deal. But let's get more realistic here. Let's say you are super early game and you just want to chill and strip mine for diamonds with an unenchanted diamond pickaxe. It will take 50% longer to do that. That is so unbelievably stupid. Remember when I mentioned Mojang trying to keep strip mining viable with the whole diamond generation change? What the hell were they thinking here? I like strip mining. It's chill and it's super satisfying to find a big vein of diamonds while doing it. But when it takes 15 to 50% longer, there's not even a practical use in doing it anymore. Strip mining isn't even the end of it though. The increased time to break Deepslate also means you can't insta-mine it with a Haste 2 beacon. This is by no means a huge deal. You can still insta-mine regular stone, but with all the good loot being at Deepslate level now, once again, there just isn't really a purpose in doing that. It's still helpful for clearing out big areas, but without all the diamonds and random ores that come with it, it's just not the same. So yeah, Deepslate is definitely necessary to have with the larger caves, however there's just a couple changes I would make to it. Change the Deepslate texture to be a little more flat looking, and make it take less time to break. Next up, I want to bring up all the new resources 1.17 added. I think back to when Caves and Cliffs was initially announced, and it's like, yo, this is where the money's at. I mean, new caves, that's cool and all, but what kind of resources are we gonna get here? Amethyst and Copper. Okay, well I was expecting a little more, but man, I've seen the mods, like these items are about to be so awesome. What the hell is this shit? When am I ever gonna use this in game? You know when Amethyst was added, it had 3 uses. Since then, it's gotten 3 more uses, but man, what a tragic tale for an item. I mean, this is an item with so much potential. In every game ever, it's portrayed as being this magical crystal that can create staffs and stuff. And while I don't think a staff would suit Minecraft very well, plenty of other things would. Maybe a new brewing effect. I saw this one mod that adds purple lanterns. Given enough time, I could come up with some cool ideas. What we got now though is just not it. I like how it can be used for armor trims. Tinted glass is alright. The amethyst block is kind of a given. Duplicating a lace is whatever. Nobody has ever actually used a calibrated skulk sensor before. simply hasn't happened, and the spyglass just isn't practical. So yeah, Amethyst has a couple niche fun uses, but it could have been so much more. The other resource we got in 1.17 was copper. Copper is mainly used for building, and these blocks are actually pretty cool. There's not really any other building block like it, and I think it suits Minecraft very well. That being said, I absolutely hate the oxidation mechanic. Over a period of time after a copper block has been placed, it will slowly oxidize into 3 different states. Every single one of these blocks looks like ass. I understand some crazy builders in this game can make them look good, but for literally everyone else, putting these blocks in your builds is a surefire way to make them look like complete shit. So, no sane person actually wants to use these blocks. Fortunately, Mojang added a feature to prevent oxidation. When you use a honeycomb on a copper block, it will consume the honeycomb and make the copper block waxed, preventing it from rusting. In my opinion, this is just very inconvenient. Honeycomb is not that easy to come by, and if you want to build anything somewhat large out of copper, you'll need a lot of honeycomb. This alone just makes me not want to use copper. I mean, I like the block, but it's just never been worth it to farm that much honeycomb. The last thing I hate about oxidation is just how many blocks it adds. In a game that already has an inventory problem, adding 7 slightly different variants to every single copper block is just the dumbest idea ever. Oxidation is stupid. Having to farm tons of honeycomb just to build something out of copper makes me never want to use it, and as a result, copper just becomes this annoying ass ore nobody wants that's just littered throughout every cave. Gotta give credit where it's due though, the main copper blocks in the lightning rod are pretty cool. To wrap up the 1.17k features, there's one more brief topic I want to cover: the changes made to existing ores. In 1.17, Mojang made 2 notable changes to the ores. Every texture except for diamond has been changed, and gold, iron, and copper all drop a respective raw variant now instead of the typical ore block. Beginning with the texture changes, these were made for the sole purpose of allowing colorblind people to be able to distinguish each ore from one another. Now I love colorblind people just as much as the next guy. But I'm sorry guys, I'm taking the old textures over y'all. It's not even that the new textures are ugly. A couple of these I actually really like. Rather, it's just that the old textures were simply iconic. They've been a part of this game for over a decade, a true symbol of Minecraft, and to remove them all for a couple of dumbass colorblind... I'm kidding. Obviously, this change was not made for players like me, so it's not like I can really balance out the 2 sides of the argument here, but in my opinion, man, these new textures are a big downgrade. Whether you like to admit it or not, nostalgia is a legitimate reason people come back to this game, so when Mojang randomly removes features that genuinely were iconic, it just makes the Minecraft experience slightly worse. The other change Mojang made to ores in this update was the addition of the raw ores. These were mainly added to allow fortune to be used on gold and iron, and in my opinion, man, this just wasn't necessary. Gold and iron are already not that difficult to find in caves, and if for whatever reason you need a ton of it, you could always just build a farm. Obviously, having fortune is helpful, but the trade-off here is just not worth it. Not only are the raw ores ugly as shit, but once again, they take away a part of mining that I felt was really iconic. Now, this is a lot more picky than anything else I've said so far, but as small as it is, mining gold and iron and getting the ore block is something that's been in the game forever, and I just don't see a reason to change it. Once again, I'm sure many people appreciate fortune working on these ores now, and I'm sure some weirdos out there like the textures of the raw ores as well. But for me, I literally do not care at all about fortune. The raw ores look like shit, and I'm just not a huge fan of small changes like this that alter OG parts of the game. Alright, that's about everything I wanted to say about caves. I don't think they fit this game very well, and most of the new content added to them is pretty underwhelming. But that's only one half of the update. In this next section of the video, I want to discuss the cliffs half of the update. So with that being said, I'll start with the new surface world generation. In 1.18, the way the overworld surface is generated was changed drastically. Biome adjustments, taller build height limit, big ass mountains, and a couple new terrain features associated with said big ass mountains. Right away, I think a big difference between the mountains versus the caves is just how cool these things are. I mean, I talked a lot of shit about how the caves look, but for the mountains, man, most of these are pretty fire. That being said, this half of the update doesn't come without some flaws of its own. For one, just like with the caves, a big issue with the new mountain generation is just how prevalent they are. When I see these mountains literally everywhere I go, it starts to get old after a while. Not only is a lot of the surface just filled with these boring ass plateaus that aren't interesting to look at, but also even the big cool mountains in this game are completely miserable to traverse. Getting past one of these giant ass mountains when exploring requires you to either take a giant detour around them or sit there like an idiot and hold spacebar for 2 minutes.
Bruh.
Sure, if you have an Elytra, these mountains are cool to fly by and stuff, but for people like me who don't enjoy playing this game with an Elytra, man, this just sucks. Additionally, besides looks, these mountains have basically nothing to offer. I mean, there's increased coal and iron spawn rate at the tops of them, which I actually do think is kind of cool, but besides that, man, there's nothing up here. Mountains are a cool addition, but I think if they were made less common, they would feel a lot more special to come across, and the world wouldn't be so goddamn annoying to traverse. Mountains aren't the only feature added to the new surface generation though. Another thing I want to bring up is biomes. Now, I don't know how true this is, because I haven't heard any official mention of it anywhere, but based on just playing this game and comparing the world generation to older versions, come on man, biomes are definitely larger after 1.18. Now, as a concept this makes sense. With larger world features, it's helpful to have larger biomes to compensate for the world's newfound verticality. In practice, however, large biomes blow. For one, exploring larger biomes is boring as shit. Typically when people are exploring, they're looking for a variety of scenes in which they can gather items, find cool structures, whatever. When you're sitting here running through a 30-mile long birch forest though, ain't no change in scenery. It's boring. Another issue I have with the larger biomes is finding a spot for a base. I don't know about you guys, but one thing I like to consider when searching for a base location is how many biomes are nearby. This way I have easy access to the different wood types and resources different biomes have to offer. With larger biomes, however, it's a lot harder to find a location like this when there's birch forests that fill up your entire render distance.
Bruh.
Overall, man, the new surface generation definitely has more strong points than the cave generation. However, once again, there's still a couple changes I would make to it. Make mountains less common, and make biomes smaller. The next topic I want to cover is all the 1.17 features associated with the new surface world generation. And by all the new features, I mean the two things they add to mountains. Yeah, 1.17 is more focused on the cave side of things, but whatever. 1.17 added two things, goats and powdered snow. Now, goats are actually pretty cool, so I don't really have anything to criticize there. However, powdered snow is a different story. This is probably one of the most annoying ass blocks ever to be added to this game. I guess I'll start with the exploration side of things. I'm tired of walking up a mountain and randomly stumbling into a big pile of snow. It's so goddamn annoying, it happens all the time. Now, when you're exploring your world by foot, this isn't that big of a deal. Yeah, it's annoying, but usually you can escape without taking any damage. When traveling by horse, however, things are a little different. Because horses move so quick, instead of just slipping onto a tiny corner of some powdered snow, more often than not, your horse will just plow through it all and sink into some deep corner where you need to dig his ass out. And because horses are so goddamn fat in this game, it's so hard to dig around them without accidentally plunging them into more snow. Even further, powdered snow doesn't have an actual tool to mine it with, so it always takes forever to dig out, and it just sucks ass, dude. Luckily, powdered snow does have a kryptonite. Leather armor. If you're wearing leather boots, you won't sink into powdered snow in the first place, and if you're wearing any piece of leather armor, you won't take damage. This also applies to other mobs, including horses. I don't really have a problem with this. I guess it's a nice niche use to add to leather armor, but also, who was out there carrying around leather armor? Powdered snow is kind of in this weird spot where it's annoying to fall into it, but it's also annoying to have to carry around a piece of leather armor for something as minuscule as some powdered snow. Still, I actually kind of like powdered snow being in the game. In combination with the already inconvenient to explore mountains, it can get pretty annoying, but as a concept on its own, I think it's a pretty fun addition. The only change I would make to it is for shovels to mine it quicker. Not as fast as regular snow, but at least a little faster. Like, come on, it's still snow. That's about it for the cliffs half of the update. My main issue there is just how large scale the world feels now. I think there's a middle ground that could have been reached between old world generation and new generation. Moving on though, as I said before, I want to wrap this video up by talking about a couple miscellaneous changes. These are all somewhat nitpicky, but they're also pretty noticeable to me. First off, man, the music. Around these two updates is really where the old C418 Minecraft soundtrack began to fade away. In 1.16, Lena and Raine essentially took over making music for this game, and in 1.17 and 1.18, her music began filtering into the overworld soundtrack. Now don't get me wrong, Lena and Raine truly is an excellent composer. Her music in Celeste is incredible, and her music in Minecraft really does fit the game well. But no matter how good it is, it's no C418. Do I need to show you all this video again? Look at these comments, man. This shit hits you in the feels. The C418 music truly is an essential part of this game, and while I have no problem with Lena and Raine's music being in this game as well, the issue is that C418's music is essentially being filtered out. Every time I play survival mode now, very rarely do I hear the OG Minecraft songs. It's mostly just Lena and Raine stuff. I don't know, maybe it's placebo, I doubt it, but I just wish the Lena and Raine music was added onto the Minecraft soundtrack instead of kind of taking over it. The other thing I want to talk about here is a lot more specific, but I think there are a bunch of cool topics that kind of stem from it. The removal of the old world type on Bedrock Edition. I know a lot of you don't play Bedrock Edition, but genuinely, the old worlds were a really interesting concept. Limiting yourself to some extremely old world generation with borders and no caves can be a lot of fun. It's kind of like a significantly less extreme version of Skyblock, and it's something I genuinely got a lot of use out of. Not only did I just play survival mode on these from time to time, but also creative mode. I've mentioned this before in a different video, but one of my favorite Minecraft worlds ever was an old type world. It was a creative world where me and my friends just loaded an old type world with a giant roller coaster, pixel art, and cool builds. This shit is awesome, and there's simply no way it could be replicated on an infinite sized world. The borders force you to be clever and compact with your builds. In 1.18, however, old world types were just flat out removed. They still function, but the ability to actually create one on the menu no longer exists. This is just a big shame to me, man. This whole video I've been talking about how I'm not a huge fan of the new world generation, and being able to go back to some OG Pocket Edition style world can be a lot of fun. But hey, if I really want to go play on an old world, I could just download one online somewhere. They still work when you have one, you just can't generate your own seed anymore. Yeah, that's the other thing. They don't still work. Alongside the removal of old worlds came the removal of bug fixing, and as it stands now, the old world borders are so goddamn buggy, it's basically unplayable. So yeah, man, I just wish Mojang kept support for these old worlds. I understand deadass nobody used them, and they were probably just a liability, but it always sucks to see stuff like this go. Rest in peace to the roller coaster world. But while I'm kind of on the topic of this whole going back to old world gen thing, this is something that Mojang actually does really well in the Java edition. Although everything I've said in this video has been a critique, Minecraft is not ruined. The ability to go back to any game version on Java Edition really is an incredible feature for this game to have. Even though I don't really go back and play survival mode on these versions, I love that I can do that if I wanted to. Additionally, while I don't go back and play survival mode, this feature is still super useful for playing on servers. I mean, Hypixel, the biggest Minecraft server ever, still runs on a Minecraft version that is 10 years old. That just goes to show how fucking shitty the combat update was, by the way, but that's besides the point. This feature is amazing, but I do wish there was something similar for Bedrock Edition. I understand Bedrock Edition is a little different because it was initially Minecraft Pocket Edition, then once it rebranded to Bedrock Edition it came out around 1.13. It's kind of a mess. Even if we could only go back to 1.13 though, that would be awesome. That feature paired with the cross-platform and multiplayer capabilities of Bedrock Edition, I would absolutely love. Overall, the point I'm trying to get at here is that no matter how shitty the update, this system Minecraft has for Java Edition is something we can always count on. It's a shame old world types were removed from Bedrock Edition, but hopefully in the future, Bedrock Edition will also have some sort of way to go back and play older versions. And just like that, that's about everything I had to say about caves and cliffs. You know, initially when I was writing down ideas for this video, I really did hate these updates, but as I kind of looked into stuff more, I realized they truly do have some potential to be great. Now, being completely honest, the caves are pretty shitty, but the new surface generation especially has some potential. The mountains are really cool looking, and I think if they were just made less common, they would feel a lot more special to find, and the world would be more fun and easy to explore. Also, with the 1.17 stuff, some of these features are actually interesting, but the game just fumbles the bag. Why does Amethyst have 6 boring ass uses? Why does Copper have to be so goddamn annoying to build with? Stuff like this, in combination with a bunch of features that are actually just dog shit, kill any sort of potential these updates had in my opinion, and overall, make Minecraft less enjoyable to play. But yeah man, that is actually it from me. Feel free to leave your thoughts on this video in the comments. Obviously, everything I said here is just personal preference, but I think there are a lot of features in these updates where I cannot be the only one who thinks that they just suck. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. More Minecraft videos in the future, hopefully a lot sooner as well. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.